Today we're going to make a classic, the Bloody Mary. For this drink, you're going to need a Collins glass, a graduated double jigger, a straw, a fancy toothpick, a citrus juicer, a fine mesh strainer, a cutting board and a small knife, a Hawthorne strainer, and a Boston shaker, or 2 cobbler shakers, or a shaker tin and a pint glass. This drink uses vodka, tomato juice, freshly squeezed lemon juice, Tabasco, Worcestershire sauce, salt and pepper, dry sherry, and celery for garnish, along with olives and a slice of lemon, or whatever else strikes your fancy. While it's true that James Bond drank vodka in the books, it wasn't nearly as often as the movies would have you believe. And while he never ordered a Bloody Mary himself, one of the Bond girls did. In Thunderball, Bond was first getting to know Domino Vitale over drinks. Only being noon, he asked if she wanted to drink solid or soft. She chose soft, so Bond ordered a vodka tonic. Then she ordered a double Bloody Mary, heavy on the Worcestershire. This scored her some points with the hard-drinking Bond. If a double was considered soft, he wondered what she would consider a hard drink. Domino replied, "I call vodka on the rocks hard. All that tomato juice makes it soft." Like a lot of classic drinks that have become household names, the Bloody Mary has a hazy origin. The consensus seems to be that it came about after Prohibition, and that it was originally made with vodka. But there are plenty of rumors and rabbit holes that say otherwise. As Brian Bartels lays out in his book The Bloody Mary, the most likely scenario for its origin is as follows. In the late 19th century, there was a non-alcoholic concoction designed to be served in the morning known as the Oyster Cocktail, which was similar to what would become the basic framework for the Bloody Mary. Then in 1917, the French Lick Springs Hotel, a ritzy resort in southern Indiana, became renowned for serving freshly juiced tomatoes. The drink made an impression on Ernest Byfield, who then started producing tomato juice commercially, and whose Chicago restaurant, The Pump Room, would later contribute to the Bloody Mary by adding its iconic garnish, the celery stalk. French Lick's tomato juice also made an impression on vaudeville-turned-Hollywood star George Jessel, who visited the hotel in the late 1920s. Jessel claimed he invented the Bloody Mary shortly thereafter, and at the end of Prohibition, his claim is backed up by several newspapers and magazines. They have mentions of him in connection with an unnamed vodka and tomato juice drink. Jessel claims that he named the drink after his friend, Mary Brown Warburton, who after tasting it for the first time, spilled some on herself and declared, "Now you can call me Bloody Mary, George." On first glance, the early 1930s might seem too early for vodka to be making an appearance in the States. However, Jessel frequented New York, and just after Prohibition, vodka started to pour into New York and D.C. because there was a big push by the Soviet government to promote it in the States. Around the same time, and also in New York, Fernand Petiot, known to English speakers as Pete, also claimed authorship of the drink. He was a bartender who came to New York from the legendary Harry's New York bar in Paris. He took over the King Cole bar at the St. Regis Hotel. The St. Regis was owned by Vincent Astor, whose father John Jacob Astor had the distinct privilege of being the richest man to die on the Titanic. And just as the Mai Tai would not exist without both Don and Vic's contributions to it, neither would the Bloody Mary. Jessel and Petiot both claimed ownership of the drink. However, Petiot admitted it was Jessel's idea, but that he, Petiot, turned it into a drink. Jessel's Bloody Mary was half vodka, half tomato juice, and sometimes a dash of Pernod. Petiot took that concept and combined it with the framework of the Oyster Cocktail to turn it into a drink. Vincent Astor liked the drink and wanted it on the menu, but he thought the name was unbecoming of New York's finest hotel, so he changed the name to the Red Snapper. Despite the name change, Astor and the St. Regis really made it famous and helped it become the renowned drink it is today. The basic components of the St. Regis recipe are more or less what you'll be served when you order a Bloody Mary. Everyone likes to put their twist on it, but unless otherwise specified, you'll typically get tomato juice, spices, Worcestershire, and vodka. The recipe I like best comes from Simon Ford. It stays true to the classic formula, but also adds another layer of complexity with the addition of a dry sherry float. If you don't have a dry sherry, it's not a deal breaker, but I think you'll find it's worth the effort to grab a bottle. Ford likes to rim the glass with salt and pepper, but I prefer having a clean rim. Like I said, everyone likes to put their little spin on the recipe. The Bloody Mary really only became the drink we know today after tomato juice started to be canned and bottled commercially. Besides, making it with fresh tomato juice is too sweet and watery. You want to use the bottled stuff that'll make the drink thick and savory. That'll give it the soft quality Domino described to James Bond. And it won't feel as much like cheating when you're drinking it for brunch. Let's start by chilling our glass. Fill it with ice and set it aside. Next, we're going to measure 1.5 ounces of vodka. Add that to the shaker. Measure 3 ounces of tomato juice. Add that to the shaker. Measure 1/2 ounce of lemon juice. Add that to the shaker. Hit it with 4 dashes of Tabasco and 2 dashes of Worcestershire. Add ice, and because tomato juice tends to foam up when shaken, we're going to roll this one. Roll the mixture back and forth to chill it down and give it some dilution. Then strain the contents of your shaker into your chilled Collins glass. Measure out 1/4 ounce of dry sherry and float that on top of your drink. Then hit it with some fresh ground pepper and some salt. Cut a lemon wheel. Spear it with an olive on your fancy toothpick. Then add it, your straw, and of course your celery for garnish. And there you have it, the Bloody Mary, your breakfast drink. Good morning. Click here for more videos. Be sure to subscribe and check us out on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. For links, more info, and the printed recipe, check out the description below.